Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, this is going to be a video for the hometown crowd here in Washington State. We are in the middle of a huge weekend. It is Sunday, February 19th, and for all of us that have been waiting on bated breath as to what's going on in Olympia this year, we have reached a very critical juncture in which some of these bills either get scheduled for a floor vote in their respective chambers or they are dead on arrival. And that could mean the difference between us still having some semblance of our Second Amendment rights after this legislative session or living more and more like those in California. So today, let's spend a few very important minutes and get you all up to speed on how many gun bills in Washington are about to die in Olympia. Okay, before we get going down the road we're going down, proud to announce that this video is being brought to you by Security Gun Club. That's right, Washington's nicest indoor facility is located right here in Woodinville, Washington. Now, in addition to having absolutely the most amazing state-of-the-art facility found anywhere in this state, well, Tom and John, the owners over there, have done an amazing job of hiring absolutely the most professional, courteous, and polite staff you will find anywhere in the business. What I think really truly sets Security Gun Club apart from everybody else, though, is the dedication to education that Jackson, the head of curriculum over there, and all the other instructors have shown. So whether you are brand new to firearms and you just want to figure out what the hell you're doing, or you've been around firearms your entire life, Security Gun Club has a class for you. And listen, you go to the range all the time and you practice so you don't end up in the morgue, but where do you go to practice that you make sure you don't end up in prison? Well, sign up for their basic self-defense law class 101 taught by yours truly. Our next class will be Wednesday, March 15th. Not only will we be talking about self-defense laws in the state of Washington, but we'll also be getting you up to date on the bloodbath of the legislative session that we are in. So for more information, visit my good friends at securitygunclub.com. That is not a misprint. That is security with an E. That's securitygunclub.com. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today in kind of rapid fire fashion is what's going on in Olympia. We are in a huge weekend. If things happen this weekend, we may have bad news for you next week. If things don't happen this weekend, we may have real good news for you, because this is how it works in a nutshell. If you start off as a House bill, at some point you got to be put on the House floor to be voted upon and passed before you can go over to the Senate to see if they will approve you. If you start off as a Senate bill, at some point, you have to be put on the Senate floor for a vote to be passed. If you do not pass or even get voted on, there's no chance of you going to the House to be voted on and signed, and there's no chance of you getting to the governor's desk. So we are at that point in this legislative session where a House bill either needs to get out of the House or it's dead, or a Senate bill needs to get out of the Senate or it's dead. Let's get you up to speed on what's going on and the few bills now that I think we need to focus on. Because as you know, we started off with a huge wide variety of bills, many of them accomplishing much the same thing. And we have begun to see focus on just a handful of these bills. So we're going to try to streamline this process. Let's start right away with the one that's got all of you the most spun up, which is a semi-automatic rifle ban, or what they call an assault weapon ban. There are four pieces of legislation: House Bill 1180, there is Senate Bill 5193, there is Senate Bill 5265. None of those three have really picked up any steam. I would not feel worried about any of those pieces of legislation. However, House Bill 1240 is the one you need to watch out for. That's the one that's had a couple of public hearings. That is the one that the legislative efforts have clearly focused around. So we need to focus on whether or not House Bill 1240 gets scheduled for a House floor vote this coming week. If House Bill 1240 is on for a vote, this bill is alive and well, and I do believe it will pass out of the House. If it does not get scheduled for a vote, it's dead, and at that point, with the other pieces of legislation never really gaining any momentum, we will be in a situation where, once again this year, we have dodged the assault weapon ban, okay? Let's talk about pre-purchasing licensing requirements, because this is a big problem. For those of you who don't realize it's a big problem yet, all you need to do is look no further than Oregon. There are four bills that address this issue. There's House Bill 1144 and Senate Bill 5211. You do not need to worry about those bills. Those bills just never really ever saw the light of day. But there are two other bills you do need to pay attention to. There is House Bill 1143 and there is Senate Bill 5232. They both had committee hearings. They both had public hearings. They both came out of committee with recommendations to pass. Remember, this legislation would require you to go through a background check before you would then be allowed to go through a background check. That's the intelligence of that law. So once again, pre-purchasing licensing, I want you to pay careful attention to House Bill 1143, Senate Bill 5232. FFL liability. We have done this video right here about it. This is a big deal. If you're not in the FFL industry, it's still a really big deal for you, and you need to realize that. There are two potential bills. There's House Bill 1130. Never really saw the light of day. We're not going to spend any more time talking about that. But there is Senate Bill 5078, a cruel joke. Some of you recall that last year, Senate Bill 5078 ultimately turned into our magazine ban. 5078 has had public hearings, has passed out of committee with a recommendation to pass this legislation. It is not yet scheduled for a floor vote on the Senate. So on the Senate side, we need to carefully watch Senate Bill 5078. Okay, state preemption. This one had me spooked. It still has me spooked. There are two bills. There's House Bill 1178, which did garner a little bit of steam, but then it went into committee, and it's never been heard since, and I have not decided to send out a search party for it because I really don't want to know where it's at. And then there is Senate Bill 5446, and that one never really gained any steam. So right now, on the Senate side, state preemption never really got a push. On the House side, state preemption had a pulse for a bit, but we have not seen or heard from it in weeks. Okay, and then let's talk about some bills that do not have companion bills and are pretty much dead on the vine. One is a new open carry ban on hospitals and parks. That I figured would have a lot of steam. There'd been a lot of momentum on placing new bans on our ability to carry in the last few years. That one never saw the light of day. That's House Bill 1195. There is House Bill 1562, and we've already done a video on it, this one right here. And we were a little concerned about some of the language in there and how pretty innocuous and innocent behavior could get wrapped up into felony conduct. That bill appears to not be going anywhere right now, and I will tell you I'm a little surprised by that one. Then there's Senate Bill 5049, the only piece of gun legislation authored by a Republican. This would have significantly upped the penalties for theft of a firearm or using stolen firearms in the commission of crime. It sounds like a wonderful idea. It sounds like it actually addresses part of our problems. And, of course, it's never seen the light of day because it was proposed by a Republican. So that is dead on arrival. Then there is one piece of legislation that has already passed. Senate Bill 5006 has already passed out of the Senate and is now on to the House. This bill significantly rewrites RCW 9.41.350, which is Washington's voluntary waiver of firearm rights, or what we call white flag orders. We sometimes use them in lieu of red flag orders. We'll be doing a separate video on that. Most lawful and responsible gun owners are not particularly worried about white flag orders, but it does have a major rewrite. I do believe that that's going to be signed by the governor and acted into legislation. So for right now, for all of you who are most concerned, what is happening with my rights? I want you to pay very careful attention on the assault weapon ban to House Bill 1240. On the pre-purchasing licensing requirement, I want you to pay careful attention to House Bill 1143, Senate Bill 5232. On the FFL liability, I want you to pay attention to Senate Bill 5078. We're going to put links for all of those down below. We're going to put links for you to be able to contact your legislator or even find them if you don't know who the hell they are. And most importantly, we're going to put links down below for the Conservative Ladies of Washington Legislative Action Center. It's the best tool in the business. So if you want up-to-the-minute updates on what's going on with the legislation, plus action items, what can you actually do to combat some of this BS? Well, then I encourage all of you to sign up for the Conservative Ladies of Washington's Legislative Action Center. In the meantime, if you have any questions about this legislative session or what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know the drill by now. You can always contact us at WashingtonGunLaw.com, or you can call us directly at 425-765-0487. In the meantime, let's remember, part of being a lawful and responsible gun owner, like we preach all the time here at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.